Hi, I'm here and you can see Oliver's right there. Maybe not for long. There goes my little dudette. I think he may be leaving the room. Just a second. You can plug this in, you can go in now, you like it. Okay, so he is now has the door propped open so we can go in and out how he likes. Yeah, so basically, today I hope you are all well. I don't know if my face will look weird to you or not. It looks kind of strange to me because I got Botox injections to help with the migraine, and actually it's only been over a week and a half, and they actually I've already experienced some benefit, so I'm excited about it. But this eyebrow is like getting a super Jack Nicholson, and so it's kind of interesting to watch your face change, but that's only to be expected, I suppose. Uh, so this is as I was saying, this is something I have been kind of trying to doing. Oh God, here comes Oliver again for at least a year. I wanted to talk about just an overview of sex magic and erotic mysticism practices. Um, in terms of just kind of like the physiological response of the body, the kind of natural history, as it were, of sex and the erotic and the sensual, and then talk about some of the states of consciousness that tend to be most prevalent in these type of practices. Um, it just kind of from an eagle's eye or a condor's eye view of it, uh, so that and then try and develop this with examples of just a number of different people. By no means like comprehensive or the best, or just kind of like the first 10 or 12 people that came to my mind, who have interacted and practiced strongly with sex and eroticism in their mystical and spiritual lives and ritual lives, and just see how that unfolded for them so that people could get more of an idea of kind of the breadth of these practices. Um, what I run into is that you have people and they hear about sex magic and they think it's like, chaos magicians in their mom's basement jerking off and making wish, right? Or like Jack Parsons out in the desert, you know, some like ritual satanic orgy or something. Tibetan Buddhist cosmic union. These are all practices that are out there, but a lot of people end up, and this is what I think is so important about sex magic and erotic mysticism, is that it is truly democratic, right? You can receive these teachings through transmission, but they just pop up organically and spontaneously all the time. And between people and other people and discarnate entities, um, is just an abundance of this. Because if you think about it, I mean, our planet is completely shaped by sexual reproduction, by life on the one hand, but then also by sexual reproduction. I mean, it's like human beings, everything that we eat basically, well, except for bananas and potatoes, but like the cloned tubers and fruits and vegetables is reproduced sexually, like all the fruit, right? It has to be pollinated. Now that's a, a sexual process, right? Um, and we kind of tend to forget that, and we forget like how all-consuming and all-pervasive and how desperately important, how in the soup we are with sex and thus the erotic. Um, and so people will have these spontaneous like sexual mystical awakenings or something, or respond intensely to someone. Gary Lockman has been going on this book tour talking about relationship he had with a woman, and I think it was when he was beginning to, study esotericism and maybe do some practices himself, although I'm not sure. Anyway, something about their relationship, they really had this chemistry where he would have, like, telepathy with her ongoing during the relationship, kind of sparked and fueled by this erotic connection, romantic connection. Um, and this isn't unusual, and a lot of people, uh, people who develop systems of erotic mysticism and sex magic, this is how they develop their systems, right? Pascal Beverly Randolph was very famous by saying he met a dusky maiden in Arabia. I think he was on a sea voyage, and suddenly it was like clear to him. I don't know if he makes it clear if she like actually uh, consciously or like verbally talked him through it, or if it's just like something that happened in the moment between the chemistry of the two of them that he received this transmission. I don't know. Um, and I don't know if he made that clear or not, but I see a lot of people who have these very intense experiences, and they happen in very kind of specific contexts or with specific people. Um, and then they're not sure how this fits into, like, if you were going to try and systematize your practice, or what you hear from people is like, I say they had a lover. The lover died a couple years, 3 years later. Suddenly, the lover is showing up again. They have this intense, mystical, erotic connection with them, and they want, of course, to be able to strengthen that connection and to facilitate communication, um, so that they have. Well, it's just like if you have anyone, who's like you got the hots for 'em, you would hate it if they're just, like, just showing up at odd hours. Some of them could be very, awkward times and places too, and wanting to get it on. So hopefully this will help people because people have different capacities. You're working at kinda different stages of, like, what I think of as, like, the sexual arousal cycle, or with different, kind of, areas of, sexual reproduction, right? If you have someone who is a grape farmer, right? I'm here in the Napa Valley. So you have these grapes and they need to be tended. They need to be watered, pruned. They need to, you need to watch out for um, pests. Around here, they have a lot of integrated pest management. So it's great for me because you have a lot of owl boxes and hawk boxes. They really encourage a lot of raptors, diurnal and nocturnal, and to eat all the, bugs and especially the rodents that are attracted to there to keep the population down. So all of this involves, being very heavily, observant of, learning about and involved in the sex lives of and the physical needs of, all these hawks and owls. Um, and then also of the plants that you're growing, making sure that they're pollinated, making sure that they're harvested at the correct time, that they're stressed, but not stressed too much, right? Um, and that I think is very much a part of, I would call it like the sex magical ritualistic current, right? Here in California, they've removed some dams up on the Klamath River just last year, and it's so wild because this fall the salmon are just screaming up there, and it's just like places where people haven't seen salmon in, I don't know, the better part of 100 years, and they're just up there, and of course, why are they up there? They're going up there to spawn and reproduce because of this huge drive that they have. So, um, the people that are involved in tearing down the dams and the Creek tribes, I think especially, have been very, involved in, replanting native plants to help stabilize and create the type of environment that will be good for, because of course salmon eggs are fertilized externally and they have to grow, so there needs to be like certain characteristics of the temperature of the water, oxygen saturation, clarity of the water, right? So you got to create an environment where you'll have these spots so they can spawn and reproduce successfully. So you are in this way, even though you're just out there, maybe taking a bunch of willow slips and sticking them in the thing, or planting tulies in the mud. You're actually helping facilitate the sexual and erotic life of salmon. And I think that especially for the mystic, this it can be a very profound insight and can take you a long ways. And for people who think that, it's like they're attracted to and interested in working with sex and the erotic, um, you don't have to like be, how do I say, you don't have to be, you know, someone who can like keep it up for 12 hours in front of, 50 of your closest satanic or OTO friends, or, be like a multi-orgasmic or, whatever. You could just be like a regular person who, is involved in the world. And partly why I wanted to do this is to for people to get a greater understanding of the variety of practices that are out there, so that if you're interested or you feel drawn towards this side of spirituality, which is not for everyone, um, that you have a little bit of a heads up as to where your talents might lie, where you might want to go, what you might be trying to look for, how to possibly interrogate your own experiences in a way that gives you some clues about where to go next, or how to cultivate um, your skills so that you can become more adept at your practice for whatever it is you're doing with. Um, so first, I would like to thank all the people who have shared those experiences with me privately over many years. There's going to be times when I'm vague or I'm kind of alluding to things, and it's because I don't want to out people for things that they have told me in confidence, and without which, I mean, I have people that um, I've had the privilege to discuss with them over many years some of these ongoing experiences, and it's really informed how I look at this, uh, and the relationship to art and creativity. Uh, and I mean, I really don't know what more to say except for I just, anyone, if you ever DM me, thank you. You're the reason why if I'm able to give anything of value here, it's because of you. Um, and then also, I will be speaking a little bit more explicitly about sex. So if you're under 18, you shouldn't be able to get on here anyway. But if you are, leave, please. And when you're 18, you can come back and listen if you're so inclined. Um, so the first thing that I want to discuss, and it's a technical aspect of erotic mysticism as well as sex magic practices. Um, a lot of spiritual practices are meant to open communication between the conscious and the unconscious parts of the person's system, right? And I'm not just talking about like the Jungian unconscious, right? I'm not a big Jung person anyway, but I'm talking about things like right now, I'm not thinking about beating my heart every time. I'm not thinking about regulating my body temperature. I wish I could because I'm having low grade fevers all the time. It would be nice. But this is where you see, like, for example, a lot of Tibetan practices, tumo, right? Ability to uh, uh, raise your body temperature and direct blood flow to the outer parts of your body. And there's a supposedly they have contests where the monks will go out in the snow and they'll go in the mountain stream and dip sheets in the streams till they're soaking wet and throw them on the monks, and then the monks just like do this tumo and the steam comes off and they dry the sheets. Like, that's how you prove that you have mastered this ability. um, And if you think about things like meditation, what you hear a lot is about breathing, right? Controlling your breathing, right? Usually, now, and breathing is one of these activities where you can do it unconsciously, you can do it consciously, right? So if you go back and forth between the conscious and the unconscious, and you start to kind of play with that and get used to that rhythm and flow of having something that can be in your conscious control, or you just let it, your system take care of it naturally in the background. You can start to develop again that communication, that connection between the conscious and the unconscious. Pardon me, I think I'm gonna burp. That's another thing. That's another thing that you can do consciously or unconsciously, but I don't know that there's been any, big practices developed around that yet. You heard it here first. Walking is another great example. There was the, one Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh. He did a lot of walking meditation, as his practice and, teaching to other people, doing group walking meditations, and that is another one that's perfect. It's really, great too for, like, grounding you in your body and your physical, self, your physical being. But again, it's something that you can just be completely thinking about something else and just mindlessly walk, or you can do it very consciously. So again, you get this kinda you can develop this communication. Dreaming. Now this is kind of an overlap. Lucid dreaming is a, let's say, esoteric practice that can be developed, right? So usually you're dreaming unconsciously, but you can develop this ability to, wake up in your own dreams. Um, and again, this is a way where you can develop that communication between your unconscious and your conscious. And of course, sex is the same way. I mean, it's perfectly possible to just kind of, mindlessly go through, and I mean, you can have a great time. I'm not saying this is anything, non-consensual or, unpleasant. It could be, great, uh, but, you're not necessarily, being self-aware, to much extent. In fact, a lot of people can find that being too self-aware or, kinda aware in the wrong way, like if you're judging yourself, can interfere with the arousal response cycle because you feel too self-conscious, right? But it's also possible to go through the response cycle, in awareness and consciously in, neutral, witness awareness at the same time, to, kind of, pace out, different areas of the arousal cycle, and time things how you want. And, again, this is something where the conscious and the unconscious can come together, and you can develop this communication. Um, all of these, I would say, especially mostly meditations, like kinda sitting meditation, as you would think of it, going into trance, um, and, sex are, really that's why they're so popular for transmission of spiritual knowledge or, any knowledge that you don't wanna have to, like, fax over to someone. Let me fax you. I'm sorry. This is terrible. Let me fax you, Nirvakapa Samadhi. Sure, I'll give you my number. Um, no, but these are, insight, access to states of consciousness, at least, transmission, ability to, pull off, various, subtle body energy moves, that type of thing, um, are often, well, it's kinda like a Vulcan I wanna say almost like kinda like a Vulcan mind meld thing where it's kinda like for however long you are in this, like, kind of shared imaginal energetic space, and if you think about sex, um, if you, are, let's say, sharing breath back and forth, doing eye gazing, then it kinda it syncs your your hard drives. No, it can sync your, what do you call it? Like the I'm sorry, the I always feel, that you have people like, Dr. Megan Rose and Gabby Hirstick, who I'll be talking about later, and they're so, uh, glamorous and, beautiful and knowledgeable and well-spoken and composed, and I just wish that, probably you wish you were listening to them instead of me. You'll sync your, like, electrical, nervous systems, right? Sympathetic nervous systems, in a way that allows that kind of, access to, each other's subtle bodies. Um, Now, of course, in certain, traditions, for example, I think, the Thelema, the Crowley stuff, uh, as well as in, many, schools of Tibetan Buddhism, you will have, these very kind of literal, physical moves and physical fluids, physical substances that will be used. But, In my experience and understanding, many times, sometimes you'll actually, well, like, let's say you actually want to have a baby, right? You need to have the egg, you need to have the sperm, things, you have to have certain conditions in the fallopian tubes and the uterus. It has to implant correctly, right? If you're just trying to do something that's not actually having a baby, um, then I don't know that those substances are necessarily completely necessary, but, I mean, this is something for you to investigate on your own. And bear in mind that if you don't wanna get pregnant, you need to, or get a disease, right? You need to take precautions and be careful. Um, then this is something that I should have said, let's see, I guess about 15 minutes ago, but I didn't. Um So I've been trying to avoid this because my guides, the Tathagatas, have been about probably a couple of years ago. We're like, okay, we have this outline for you, and this material we'd like you to cover, and you should do this. And I'm like, I don't want to do it because it's not like I've gone and done like a systematic review of the literature. It's not like I've come out and gotten like certified as a sex whatever, I don't even know what you would be. Um, it's not like I've, gone through, however many rungs there are in whatever type of, Western esoteric groups do sex magic. Um, but I've been interested in, sex, the sensual, the erotic from the time I was very young. Also, from a biological angle, but also, and people don't like to hear this because it's not nice. Um, I grew up in the East Bay in, like, the '60s and '70s, and, there was a lot of, predatory, behavior against kids and, girls and boys, and, so I spent a fair amount of time, having to deal with inappropriate sexual attention from, men and boys from the time I was pretty young and trying to avoid basically being, like, kidnapped or assaulted, which I managed to do. But, yeah, so it's kinda, like, not that great of a way to start out. However, I also, was very lucky that I was able to participate a lot in, music and the arts. I played tuba, and it's just, like, an incredible experience to be playing in an orchestra and with the tuba because I love the vibration of the instrument. It's so low, and, actually, when I was, up at the Awam Chodan, Rinpoche let me play the long Tibetan trumpet sometimes because it's hard for a lot of people to even get a sound out of it. Of course, I could because of my training, um, but it's kind of a similar feel. It's really fun, and then I took a lot of art classes. We were out in nature a lot. We, went to museums a lot and looked at art, and so I was lucky that I got to have that kind of like, sensuality and beauty as well, in my life. And I had, teachers who were, I met like my tuba teacher, Floyd Cooley, who was just great. And, we'd go over it and, he lived in Marin and Woodacre in this kind of wooded area in this little kind of like, wooded hippie house, and he had like an Irish wolfhound, and so we'd have our lessons there, and, it was just beautiful, and it was, amazing, and so I had a lot of, men who were, very helpful and encouraging and respected me. We talk about ideas and art and all that type of stuff too. So, so I wasn't, like, completely, jaded, that way. And then I've had, other various experiences, but I ended up, studying, biology and anthropology, so you get to learn a lot about, just, like, human sexual practices and how they can differ, how they're tied in with, like, the ecology and culture, history. Um, but then, I've also had a fair amount of just, like I said, speaking with people who've had experiences, reading, and then, just pure some of this is just, like, pure inspiration, so, um, take it for what it's worth, and, if this is something that you're interested in anyway, hopefully you'll find something of interest in it. So, um, I wrote some notes. I'm sure you're thrilled. Okay, okay. So, so we've talked a little bit about this already, but, when I was studying, biology of reproduction in college, uh, they talked about the human sexual arousal cycle. Now, for usually, they'll be talking about, like, 4 stages, right? This is like, okay, when things are starting to get hot and heavy with someone. You'll have, arousal, which is when you're kind of like starting to respond and, I don't know how to there's, like, certain physical signs, which, of course, I'm forgetting at this moment because why not? But, this you may see someone's, pupils dilate, they'll flush, they'll have a little bit more energy, or seem a little bit more alive, you know, uh, they may get, like, giggly or stupid, um, or fidgety or, kinda dumbstruck. Anyway, then, if you start to actually interact physically with, another person or yourself, the arousal will increase, you start to get, like, the heavy breathing, increased blood flow and sensitivity to the genitals, right? Uh, you may get a hard on, uh, you may not, depending on what you're packing. Uh, you'll have, like, a lubrication of the vagina, and also it will, engorge and, kinda expand. I mean, it's really kinda cool. So you have all these physical changes going on. So then you reach something that's called the plateau, and this is really what a lot of, classic sex magicians, and mystics, erotic mystics get into this area and really spend a lot of time in here, like, Caritza, Idocratic, um, because you can get to this state where you're just well, it's kinda like edging, right? You're, like, super worked up, your nervous system is just, like, really going, and if you can maintain that for a while, you can kind of, build up, like, a huge amount of energy and then direct it or use it, to, like, a magical purpose, or use it. I was reading Catherine Ironwood from, the lady that does the Lucky Mojo, hoodoo shop. She has a really big section on her forum where she's written a lot of articles about her own, experiences with sex magic, and she really focuses on Karitsa, which involves, holding off on orgasm. I have to go get all of them. Mm. There you go. Okay, you wanna get in your there you go. Come on. Okay. Okay, you gonna come out? He likes to get in his crate, like, on the bed and, like, I don't know, it's his man cave or something. So, you can get in this, like, highly aroused state and, maintain it, and, a lot of people find that this state is good for, let's say if you wanna, channel, if you're doing, trance to, try and, do divination or you're trying to travel. In the nightmare scenario, you one of your parents would be in trouble in the hospital or something, you wanted to do like a trance, visitation to them, to try and encourage them, you could use this method to kind of build up the energy and everything and go over there, but just try and, cool down the, eroticism when you're visiting your I don't know why I think of these things. Probably because a lot of people have these really embarrassing and hapless experiences with sex magic, and that's why they don't wanna talk about it. I can't blame them. Um, but, Karitsa is like this whole system, it was a Dr. Stockham, she was, very, late 19th century. She was one of the first, women doctors, accredited in, I believe, in the United States, and she focused on sexual health, and, she developed this system of Caritza where you could, the idea is basically you are, working on forming a, subtle, bond of companionship and affection and shared, I wanna say, like, goals between a husband and wife, while you're not risking pregnancy, because, this is a time when birth control was illegal, and pregnancy, this is also before antibiotics and, anti-hemorrhaging and sterile procedures, so, um, pregnancy could be very risky and could end in death for, the mother or baby, so there was concern to, preserve the health of the family overall. You wanna have the mom being alive to to help take care of kids. You wanna have enough, like, even like today, right? Uh, Here in the United States, fertility rates are going down, and I think part of it is a large part of it, if you talk to young people, they're like, "We can't afford it. We don't have job stability. We don't have, housing or, resource stability." And also, women can't get, appropriate medical care. So, especially if you already have, let's say, a couple of little kids, it'd be terrible to risk a pregnancy where in a state where you might, bleed out in the parking lot and then your kids are orphaned. It's awful. So yeah, so that some of these methods that focus on the plateau part of the cycle, the reason that they're doing that is they want to people to have a really good time but have less risk of pregnancy. And as a side effect, it can also be a fuel or a space in which you can do a lot of magical practices as well. Then we move on to everybody's favorite climax. Maybe it's actually there's people who really don't enjoy it for whatever reason. Which is one of the reasons that I wanted to put this material out there because at every stage in this, I mean, there's so many different ways where you can work with sex and the erotic that don't have to necessarily be, "Oh, look, I can, come on command," or whatever, right? If this isn't a thing for you, if you don't feel comfortable with it, if it's not, I mean, some people have, unfortunate health conditions or whatever, um, you can still participate in this side of life if you are interested in it, because there's all these, I mean, this like infinite possibilities. Um, but anyway, yeah, so that if you were, the whole idea with, orgasm is that you're able to, that use it as a vehicle to direct, this energy, intention, will that you have formed, um, out into the world to kind of, follow that, I mean, it definitely doesn't happen all the time, but the general idea behind sex is that, you have 2, uh, organisms, that are pretty much alike, but kinda different, and so you come together and you have this moment where you kinda mix things up, and there's like a psychic slide into the physical, right? There's going to be an impetus towards things, becoming physical, moving from the idea, from the emotion, into, physical reality, and so you can kinda, uh why am I why am I thinking of Slim Pickens and Doctor Strangelove? He's kind of riding that rocket down. So it's kind of a similar type of energetic move. I apologize. And then the last stage is they call it resolution, right? So your body's been like super worked up. You have a change of blood flow and heart rate and all these different type of things. Um, and then things are going to calm down again. This is usually not so thought of as a opportunity for magical practice, but I did re and I wish I could remember who had written the book. I saw this book that was interesting on sex magic at a Copperfields or something years ago, and I read it and I was gonna come back and get it, but it had been sold and they wouldn't tell me what the name was or they couldn't figure it out. Um, but he was saying this author, that in resolution, so, like, after the orgasm, as your body is settling down, there's kinda like let me see, the astral body is not so, tied to the physical body, right? You're not back in mundane consciousness yet. So this can be a time if you're trying to astral project, this can be a good time to attempt that, because you might have more luck with it just because of the kind of configuration between your um, subtle and physical bodies. Uh, Kind of similar to when you're falling asleep or when you're waking up, hypnagogic and hypnopompic states. So those stages, the classical stages would be arousal, plateau, climax, and resolution. Now, there is a lot that has to do with sex magic and erotic mysticism, spirituality that has to do with a couple of other, what I would call cycles or stages, pursuits. Um, One would be abstention, right? Think of all those nuns and monks, all those different traditions, right? If you're abstaining, this is a kind of like a can be a slow burn situation, in other ways, but it's more hardcore, I think, because you're dedicating your whole erotic and sexual life to this particular spiritual path. Um, so I think that it can definitely be effective for, I want to say, sharpening the will, focusing the mind. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like any of these practices, right? You have to think about if it's going to suit you physically, right? If you decide to abstain and you're just getting like cranky and you can't concentrate and you're snapping at people, then how is this serving you? Is what I would say, right? Um, and the same disclaimer applies to people who are like hanging out in the plateau. There's a lot of stuff about like semen retention or avoiding orgasm for, oh, actually, we're in November. No, not November, right? You can get these magical powers by avoiding sex. For some people, it's not a problem. For other people, it just doesn't do you any good. It makes you cranky. And there's, for health reasons, I mean, the thing is with the human reproductive system is that you're not going to get a lot of blood flow in and out of there, right? Unless you're doing like sex, right? This is why guys that ejaculate tend to have lower prostate cancer rates, because the whole sexual response cycle involves bringing in a lot of new blood and then it all flowing back out, right? So this is going to help the tissues be healthy. So if you avoid that, I don't know, if you could run into problems or not, but I think that there's good reason why. I mean, there's why people that abstain will still have like sexual dreams, right? Because this is like a natural part of our body's mechanisms for staying healthy and keeping things going there. Um, so with abstention as well as like rigorous, I don't know, people don't want to have like sex for 8 million hours or uh, orgies or just basically anything. Just, if you want to experiment, then check it out. Be careful, try it out. But if it's not for you, don't worry about it. I mean, you'll find something that is for you. And to me, that's the important thing. Um, and then another part of the cycle, I think, is seduction, right? Um, and this doesn't have to be like a power imbalance or like uh, anything. I mean, it can just be like, attraction or well, beyond attraction, because you're like actually trying to get close to someone, like flirting or, just talking with the person, having fun experiences together. But at like a certain point, if there's going to be sex, someone's going to like bring it up or start kind of making insinuations in that area or asking about it, right? Um, getting some making a how do I say interacting in a person with a with a person in a way where they would think, "Oh, yeah, this could be a fun person to have or a nice person to have this experience with, this add-on additional experience." Um, but if you look at it from, like, the sex magic or erotic mysticism angle, you have, like, performers, politicians, salespeople, political activists, polemicists. There's a lot of people that, develop that charisma where you can go onto the stage and you're like, "Wow, this person's, like, holding my attention, and I really wanna hear what they have to say and see what they're gonna do." Um, to me, that's part of the whole seduction, and part of the reason why I think this is I had, experience I've actually had this type of experience more than once, but, I love hummingbirds, and I'm in California, we have hummingbirds year-round, and so I'm always watching them, and I feed them. Years ago, I was out on a walk, and I heard, Anna Hummingbird's song. They're the only hummingbird that sings. It's kinda that's a terrible imitation. It's like a squeaky, scratchy little song, but it carries because of its squeaky scratchiness. So I was like, "What is that?" And it really drew my attention. I just walked over and I was hearing it, but I couldn't quite see, and then almost I looked down, and I was right next to a coyote bush, and there was kinda like a little amphitheater there, and there right on the ground, just right above it, there was a little, male hummingbird, and he was singing to a little lady hummingbird. They were looking at each other, and she was just kinda, like, mesmerized, and then I was realized that I was standing there mesmerized too. So he called in 2 ladies, one of whom was not suitable for his purposes. But, I think this is part of seduction, where you're just kind of putting this, something, whatever your game is, you're putting it out there to see who you can, attract. And as in the case of the hummingbird, it may not be correct. We were all just kinda looked at each other, and then they flew off. Um, but, yeah, so I would say that, that's this whole angle too. I know that, Mitch Horowitz has written a book. It's like The Secret of Sex Sublimation. He didn't put it that way, but it's like basically kind of a combination of abstention and seduction, where you kinda take this attraction, arousal that you may feel for, like, stray people during the day or just about whatever, and you kind of, like, channel it into your creative energy, which is, um, I guess when they say, "Good work if you can get it." I don't know that it works for everyone. Um, and it's something that can be difficult for, what was I gonna say? You have to watch out for with, gurus and people leading cults. There can be people that, lead, cults or spiritual groups who are not responsible about that aspect of because, if you like with the rock musicians, let's say, right? I mean, you could get really good at playing the guitar or whatever and being a rocker and performing, and then you're gonna get all these groupies. Well, the same thing can happen with a spiritual teacher, where they're developing this intense charisma, but they're not like responsible or good about handling it. So that'd be something to kind of watch out for in groups. I mean, people can be inappropriate towards their teachers, but I think in the end, it falls on the teacher to really try and do their best to be appropriate with people about that aspect of things, right? And try and tone it down or whatever. I don't know. Well, there's a lot of different things you can do, but okay. So that is kind of the human sexual arousal cycle. One thing that I would kind of like to add is, I guess it goes back to more the creating the environment. Let's call it the ecology of sex. But like getting back to the salmon, right? They need very specific environmental conditions in order to reproduce. And so, if you are helping to create these conditions, then that's something too. Or I knew a doctor around here who was a gynecologist, and he specifically did like pelvic repair for women, especially because a lot of women, if you give birth vaginally, or even just carry a pregnancy, it puts a big strain on all the organs that are in your abdomen and your pelvis. And then at the bottom of your pelvis, in case you didn't realize, is just like a big hole. So things can start like falling through there or tearing. Um, so he was a mystic in a way, because he was just like, he thinks, human life is just really such a blessing. And he realized that it all comes, is going through a vagina. I mean, if you have like a IVF or something, and it's delivered via cesarean, that's not going to be such a thing. But I mean, out of the 8 billion people in the world right now, vast majority, we're here because of as he put it, because of a vagina. And so for him to honor that, he really focused on repairing the damage that pregnancy and birth can do to these organs. And women can develop fistulas, which, you can be defecating through your vagina, which you can't control. And so, if you're especially in a less developed area, it can be very isolating. Um, People also lose control of their bladder, urinary bladder. Um, you could end up in a situation where your bladder is falling out through your vagina, and so you have to push everything back up before you can urinate. Um, so he ended up becoming a surgeon who could uh, repair these organs for people so that they, were continent. And it makes a huge difference in your life if you can control your bowels, right? Or urination. So, I would say he definitely was like a sex mystic, but he was a surgeon too. So that's what I want to try and convey is people is it's not just like like the sexy naked blonde up on the altar and the, candles and stuff. I mean, you can come down to these very practical material things, but they can be involved with this whole kind of mystical uh, transmission. And really amazing too. I know someone that he did a repair for. It's just like life changing. I mean, just amazing. So he was very thorough and very careful. Great pain management, everything. So yeah. So now, as we're talking about magic and mysticism, I want to talk about states of consciousness, some common states of consciousness in which people will be um, performing magical tasks or having mystical experiences. Dreaming, especially lucid dreaming. Uh, Dreaming is often you're all just, by yourself working through all your regular stuff. You can also end up in kind of like these shared spaces. And it can happen that you develop erotic contact, either unconscious, like in a like, why did I dream about that person? Well, guess what? Um, you can have shared dreams. You can lucid dream, and if you wanted to, if you were hot stuff, knew what you were doing, right? You could say, okay, I'm going to have a lucid dream in which I'm going to be uh, engaging with sexually with a consort or a certain goddess in a particular tradition. I mean, basically, uh, it's only limited by your imagination. But yeah, dreaming and lucid dreaming can definitely be states where these you can still be working with the erotic and or sexual response. Now, actually, when you're dreaming during REM sleep, that tends to be part of the I don't want to say the self-cleaning cycle, like in your oven, right? You'll get the genitals will become engorged, and then the blood will drain out. But this helps to bring blood to that area of the body that's not getting it to like exercise so much. Um, you can develop what I would call empathy, which I wrote here, an energetic link between two people, especially regarding physical conditions and emotions, right? So if you're have been engaged with someone erotically or sexually, you can develop this sense of empathy like during the encounter, but also it can carry on afterwards and in other circumstances. Um, I was reading, I should have got it out. There's a book by Montauk Chia, and he is a Taoist sex magician. He's written a couple of books on Taoist sex magic for men and for women. There's a lot of overlap in the material, but he talks a lot about um, semen retention for like kind of alchemical purposes, but also avoiding orgasm so that as a way of helping kind of foster this empathy between the partners, and then uh, developing kind of a ebb and flow of energy back between the two partners, so you can kind of balance each other and create this kind of ongoing locus of balanced energy. And it can be you can do it just simply as kind of like a blessing for the area, or within that kind of balanced dyad, you can do more specific type of magics related to like the environment or weather or whatever. So, but that is another state of consciousness, which is more shared, that tends to develop in these practices. You can travel out of body. We talked about that earlier. Um, what part of you is traveling out of your body when it's traveling out of your body? This is a big question, but I wonder if it's the part of you that survives after death, because there's a number of people who report that they knew someone when they were alive, when they were both alive, and then when the the dead person died, the person who was later going to be dead died. Anyway, and then they started to revisit them with these erotic encounters and other type of information and experiences, and some of it sounds very like people who report out of body travel for erotic purposes between two people who are living. So I'm not sure about that, but if you have a facility for out of body travel, this is something that you can definitely mix into your erotic mysticism, sex magic. Trance, including hypnotic trance. I mean, uh, this is like a classic for if you're going to be channeling a goddess. Let's say you're going to like be initiating some guy into whatever. So obviously the. Oh my God, sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. So as you do, channeling some type of feminine goddess while you're having sex with some guy to initiate him, right? This is often you're going to go into trance before you go into channeling. This involves like a ton of different techniques, a ton of different training that can happen. Ironically, though, if you are um, involved erotically, romantically, sexually with someone else, that kind of heightened arousal can be useful to trip you into these states. And also, your partner can help you energetically to hold various states. So that's why partnered sex is popular for these activities. Okay, so I am going to leave this here for now. I'm going to have a couple more parts probably. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm sorry for all the interruptions, but I just felt like, it's Day of the Dead. So I felt, well, why not get started at least? Because I've been trying to avoid this for years now. So I thought maybe I should just get off my behind and get it out there. So, let me know what you think, and once again, I can't thank enough all the various people who have, shared with me. Upcoming, we'll get a little more about kind of these technical aspects of things, but then I'm going to be, doing about I think it's about a dozen, people who were, sex magicians and or erotic mystics and more, and, just talk about just give a little, summary of their approaches. Some of them are historic, some are currently, out there and teaching, and then hopefully give you, more of a taste for, what is out there in the world. So, have a great day, and, thank you for listening.